Hey there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about catching big ol' lunkers. I've learned a thing or two about what lures those bass just can't resist. So grab your tackle box, and let's get ready to go fishing. First up on our list, we got the good ol' spinnerbait. It's like the Swiss Army knife of bass fishing. Versatile, reliable, and always gets the job done. A spinnerbait's got that flash and vibration that mimics a school of baitfish, which drives those bass crazy. When I'm using a spinnerbait, I like to target areas with some cover, like weed beds, fallen trees, or rocky points. One little trick I learned is to add a trailer hook. Sometimes those bass will short strike the lure, and that trailer hook acts like a safety net. Experiment with different retrieve techniques. Practice makes perfect. The more you use a spinnerbait, the better you'll get at feeling those bites and setting the hook. Next up, we got another classic, the crankbait. This lure is all about imitating those baitfish that bass love to gobble up. Crankbaits come in all shapes and sizes, each designed to dive to different depths. You can cover a lot of water with them. Just cast it out, crank it back in, and let the lure do all the work. When I'm crankbait fishing, I like to target areas with structure like drop-offs, points, and humps. Don't be afraid to bump your crankbait into logs, rocks, and other cover. Sometimes that collision will trigger a reaction strike from a nearby base. They'll think that crankbait's injured and vulnerable, making it an easy target. Experiment with different retrieve speeds and pauses to find what works best on that particular day. Now let's talk about the jerkbait. This little lure is a true master of deception in the world of fishing. It's designed to mimic the erratic movements of a wounded baitfish, making it irresistible to predatory fish. The magic happens when you impart those sharp, sudden movements. With a few twitches of your wrist, you can make that jerkbait dart and dash through the water. Jerkbaits come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, each with its own unique action and appeal. I like to use a jerk-jerk pause retrieve mimicking a distressed baitfish, and when you finally hook into that big bass, all the effort and patience will be worth it. So next time you're out on the water, give the jerkbait a try. Now we're moving on to a true bass fishing staple, the soft plastic worm. This lure has been a go-to for anglers for decades, and for good reason. Its versatility and effectiveness make it a must-have in any tackle box. This lure has been around since the dawn of time, and it's still one of the most effective ways to catch bass. From the early days of fishing to modern times, the soft plastic worm has proven its worth time and time again. You can rig them Texas rigged, Carolina rigged, wacky rigged. The possibilities are endless. Each rigging method offers a unique presentation that can entice even the most finicky bass. The Texas rig is great for heavy cover, while the Carolina rig excels in open water. The wacky rig with its erratic action can be irresistible to bass. I like to use a variety of colors when I'm fishing soft plastic worms, but some of my favorites include watermelon, pumpkin seed, and Junebug. These colors mimic natural prey and can trigger a bass's predatory instincts. Don't be afraid to experiment with different hues to see what works best in your local waters. When I'm fishing a soft plastic worm, I like to work it slowly along the bottom, bouncing it off cover and letting it fall naturally. This slow, deliberate approach can often provoke a reaction strike from a lurking bass. The key is to be patient and let the worm do the work. Bass will often grab the worm as it's fallen, so it's important to pay attention to your line and be ready to set the hook at any moment. A slight twitch or movement in your line can indicate a bite, so stay alert and be prepared to react quickly. Soft plastic worms are relatively inexpensive, so you can afford to experiment with different colors, sizes, and rigs. This allows you to adapt to changing conditions and find what the bass are biting on that particular day. Whether you're a seasoned angler or just starting out, the soft plastic worm is a reliable choice that can help you land more bass. Now if you're looking for some real excitement, look no further than the topwater frog. When that bass explodes on a topwater frog, it's like a bomb going off. The key to fishing a topwater frog is to make it look as realistic as possible. I like to target areas with thick cover when I'm fishing a topwater frog, like lily pads, weed mats, and overhanging trees. When that bass explodes on your frog, don't get too excited and set the hook too soon. Give them a second to get the frog in their mouth, then set the hook hard. Let's talk about the lipless crankbait, perfect for covering water and finding active fish. This versatile bait is a must-have in any angler's tackle box. Without that big ol' lip, it can dart through weeds, timber, and rocks without getting hung up. Its streamlined design allows it to glide effortlessly through dense cover. Plus, it's got a unique sound and vibration that calls bass in from a distance. The internal rattles mimic distressed baitfish, drawing predatory fish. Lipless crankbaits are especially deadly in the spring and fall when bass are schooled up and feeding heavily. One favorite technique is to rip it through the water, giving it a sharp snap of the rod tip, then letting it fall back down. This creates an erratic, darting action. That erratic action mimics a dying baitfish, and those bass just can't resist it. Now, if you're after a trophy bass, a real monster, then you gotta have a swim bait in your tackle box. These lures are designed to imitate baitfish with incredible realism, and they're known for producing some of the biggest bass out there. Swim baits come in all shapes and sizes, from small, bite-sized models to giant 10-inch behemoths. When I'm fishing a swim bait, I like to use a slow, steady retrieve, just like I would with a real baitfish. Swim baits are especially effective in clear water, where bass can get a good look at the lure. Just make sure to use a swim bait with a loud rattle or a bright color to attract the bass's attention. Be prepared for anything. Those big bass aren't afraid to hit a big lure, and when they do, it's gonna be a fight you won't soon forget. Now, let's talk about a lure that's effective year-round, no matter the season, the jig. This versatile lure can be fished in a variety of ways, and it's a proven fish catcher in all types of water. The jig is basically just a weighted hook with a skirt or other material tied to it. One of the reasons jigs are so effective is that they can be fished at all depths, from the shallows to the deepest holes. When I'm fishing a jig, I like to use a slow, methodical retrieve, feeling for bites along the way. Bass will often pick up a jig on the fall, so it's important to pay attention to your line and be ready to set the hook at any moment. Alright folks, get ready for another topwater thrill ride, the buzzbait. This lure is like a surface spinnerbait, with a blade that spins on the surface, creating a commotion that drives bass wild. Buzzbaits are especially effective in low-light conditions such as early morning, late evening, or overcast days. And just like with the topwater frog, don't be afraid to make some noise with your buzzbait. Last but not least, we have the Ned rig, a relative newcomer to the bass fishing scene, but it's quickly become a favorite among anglers of all skill levels. This finesse technique is deadly on finicky bass, especially in clear water or heavily pressured lakes. The Ned rig consists of a small, mushroom-shaped jig head paired with a soft plastic stick bait. The key to the Ned rig's effectiveness is its subtle action and lifelike presentation. When fished slowly along the bottom, the Ned rig mimics a dying baitfish or a crawfish scooting along the bottom. I like to use a variety of colors when I'm fishing the Ned rig, but green pumpkin, watermelon, and natural shad patterns are always good choices. The Ned rig is versatile and effective year-round. Well folks, there you have it. My top 10 lures that bass can't resist. Remember, the key to successful bass fishing is to experiment and find what works best for you in your local waters. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fishing tips and tricks. Tight lines!